Yeah, I gotta tell you people, if you're thinking about it, living in a fiver on the road full time, on a fine motorcycle for day trips such as this, to my mind, it's a pretty good twist on motorcycle touring. And I'm one that holds with the idea that it's not a bad way to live if you're 18. I just don't see the reason anymore to wait until you're 58 like I did. I mean, folks bust their hump for 30, 40, 50 years serving the man so that they can retire and enjoy their golden years, except then they die at 49 like my old man from a heart attack from busting hump for the man so hard for so long, and never get those golden years, and then the man's the only one who gets the benefit. I'm thinking that there's a fine and shiny alternative to chasing one of those careers that only serves the beast. And that's find a way when you're 18, 20, 23 to find something that you can do for yourself that feeds you and lets you live the way you want to live, like me, chasing the paint stripes on 2 wheels. My only regret is I didn't do it 40 years ago. That was my big mistake. And I know how hard it is. By God, I know how hard it is. The system beats you down, tells you you're a useless, worthless, selfish SOB because all you think about is yourself. Well, isn't it curious that the beast, the system, only thinks of itself and then accuses you of being less than a good person because you don't only think of it, but you don't just sacrifice your life for it. It's kind of a communist sort of thought, isn't it? That the person should serve the state. Hell, the only reason to have a state is to protect the individual, and if the state isn't going to protect the individual, the state's not worth having around. I guess that wouldn't be a real popular thought with Mr. Obama, would it? Or Mr. Bush. Or the other Mr. Bush, or Mr. Clinton, or any of the other parasites that occupy that office. Yeah, enough of that. Skull Creek Campground. We spent a week in there too when we first got here, waiting for the ground to firm up back at our boondock camp down on Deep Creek Road where we're at now. It was so soggy when we got here, there was no way to pull in on it. Well, unless you were my neighbors, they didn't hesitate to pull in when it got wet after we pulled in. We just sat still for a few days. They pulled in and out, in and out, and in and out. Cut big old nasty ruts, 6, 8, 10 inches deep. Chewed that end of the meadow all to hell. And then I got called a divisive malcontent, because I thought what they were doing was a disrespectful way to behave. And I feel pretty certain that if the guy who accused me of being a disrespectful, divisive malcontent had those people running their trucks across his front yard, chewing up big old ruts in his front yard, he'd whine and complain. Well, guess what? When me and other folks are living full-time, or coming up from town to camp on the weekends, out there in those dispersed camping areas, that becomes our front yard. That ground doesn't belong to just those people tearing it apart. It belongs to all of us. And it matters not one little bit what the law says. Duty and responsibility and honor and morality dictates that you have a care for that land. And before you go pulling some big old heavy rig out onto that meadow, you stop, you open the door, you crawl your lazy butt out of that cage, and you check that meadow to make sure that you can safely pull a heavy rig out onto it. Doing anything else is moronic and disrespectful and irresponsible. You can make excuses all you want. You can label the person bringing that message a divisive malcontent all you want. But in the end, when you do that, it only has you sounding a lot like Billy Clinton when he claimed that fellatio wasn't sex. I'll bet his wife didn't buy it either.